My parents married in 1911, that's right, that's when my mother came to England. And in 1921, they must have been fairly well off to do it, they bought an enormous Norman Shaw mansion in Netherhall Gardens, Hampstead, of which the immediately preceding owner was the Master of the King's Music, spelt M-U-S-I-C-K, Sir Edward Elgar. I was born in that house in 1926. I was brought up in it till about 1935-6, and it was then that my English father defaulted and ran off with a bitch named the Honourable Mrs. Russell, the wife of a Colonel Russell, and left us in the lurch with nothing. We had two dogs in those days. One was called I'm trying to remember the name of that dog with a curly tail. What could it be called? Pomeranian. A Pomeranian and an Irish Terrier called Paddy. And the Pomeranian was called Bonzo. And they were very sweet. And that initiated my love of dogs. I love them dearly, and they are devoted to me. They adore me. And I think we would both be the poorer without one another.
Captain Seddon is essentially a hermit, a recluse, self-confessed eccentric, and an inventor. The poor guy, he has no money, he's very old and frail, he needs his dogs. As far as I'm concerned, he's being victimised on more than one front.
I've lived here 48 years, and all previous inhabitants, both of that house and of all other neighbouring houses, have been friendly, nice, understanding, kindly people who very well knew of the terrible troubles which I suffer here, the harassment, the persecution, the targeting, and they realised how essential my dogs are to me. And therefore they accepted the barking, which undoubtedly went on, as part of the scene of my life. And they didn't in any way complain. There were not complaints. And I was left in peace to live in my old age a peaceful, tranquil, agreeable life. Now, about 6.5 years ago, a very, very unpleasant, indeed exceedingly hostile person named Peter Hardwick moved into that building.
At first he was friendly, he only had a couple of dogs, but now it's increased, he's got 12 and it's all into breeding. I don't know what happens, but every 6 months the bitches are in pup. When I came and bought this house, all these trees hid a lot of all this junk. But now, if all those trees were gone, he's got a great big propeller up there that it's about 60 foot in the air that generates his electricity. I'm not complaining about that, but it's just the state of the garden. So I think that 2 dogs is all he needs. I know he's got a big area, but he keeps saying about all the crime, but what crime is there in this village? Petty crime, car crime. There's nobody jumping over in his garden to go and steal anything because there's nothing there worth stealing.
Well, I have had to put up barbed wire in many places. I have to live virtually in a fortress. I have to keep the gates permanently locked, barred, chained and bolted to keep out the insurgents. What else do I do? What else don't I do?
I'd better be careful what I say here. But as far as I'm concerned, that end of the village is the focal point for the local criminals. It's a breeding ground, and in particular, a new housing estate that was put there in about 1988. Something like 50 or 53 new homes were built. And essentially, the borough homeless register was emptied into those 53 new houses. And that included something like 200 children, essentially overnight, in a very short period of time. were all put together in one area, and they had no means of resolving the problems. So it's been a nightmare from then on.
Well, the judge, he's appealing against an order, a notice that was served on him in January of this year or late December of last year, that he's got to get rid of some of the dogs to keep the noise down, and he's appealing against that. So it's up to the judge tomorrow to uphold the appeal, and then it'll be up to the environment to go in there and take some of the dogs away.
I have the trolley, yeah.
Coming in a minute. What? Quick. Right down. Right. The details. I give due warning that as I am doubly incontinent, if this door is not open soon, I'm coming to pee in that corner.
See you shortly.
I'd be surprised if you did.
I'm going to go home now. Yeah, and have a double scotch.
Yeah.
And celebrate. Yeah, and have my neighbour in for drinks.
Sorry? Oh, I seem to have run into some rain. Well, I'm very grateful for whatever article you produce. And tell me, do you represent both the papers here?
Yeah.
Would you be so very kind as to let me have a copy of both articles?
I'm
can
too
you?
scared of your dogs.
Sorry?
I can't come to
Well, put it in the letterbox,
All right.
just outside.
I was only joking.
And don't worry, all you have to do if you want to see me is to ring the bell. The dogs, I promise you, won't hurt you at all. They will love you. Do you have a dog yourself?
I don't know.
You don't? Have you ever had anything to do with dogs?
No, I personally am not interested in dogs.
Well,
Nothing
then-
against them.
Then it might be different. But I can only tell you that they never attack anybody. They bark vigorously. If they are in sympathy with the visitor, which they usually are, they are only too keen to be petted and stroked and to come and lick your hand. That is what they will do.
In terms of the notice that's been served that you failed to appeal against.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait a minute,
That was failed just now. You haven't been able to appeal against the notice. Yeah.
have I not appealed against the notice?
No, you did appeal against the notice, but the appeal was dismissed rather than upheld.
Why? Oh, I see.
Yeah,
In
you
that
see what I'm
sense.
saying?
Yes, I
Okay.
do understand now.
That means that criminal proceedings could be put into practice if you don't either quieten your dogs or get rid of them.
So I understand.
Okay.
Well, then
so
I may have to become a criminal by virtue
Right,
of the
that's what I'm
action of
getting
this
at.
judge.
Okay.
Clearly, I shouldn't have to pay a penny, and the whole thing should be paid by the other side, and I should win and they should lose, and that is the morality of the thing, and it's absolutely crystal clear. Nothing could possibly be clearer. I suppose I'm going to have to go in first. You're going to have to follow me closely.
Yes.
And you must be most careful when you go in. Because if the dogs who are unroad trained get into the road, they will almost certainly be killed by the passing cars, which are completely rücksichtslos there without consideration, just rushing past. They will kill the dogs. Therefore, if the dogs try and escape, would you please shoo them in front of you? Well, then come in behind me, and you can film whatever's going on with the dogs. I rather fear they're going to make a mess of me. They always do. That can't be helped. They're dear, sweet animals, and I depend on them utterly, and I love them dearly, and they adore me. Now, let's see what we can do. Well, first of all, weg, raus, davon, zurück, weg. Und du auch, weg, alle weg. Alle weg, alle weg, alle weg, alle weg. Zurück, Don't let the dog now come in and shut the gate. Is Ewan coming in or wait a minute? Is Ewan coming in? Those. Perhaps I ought to have 4 of those. Those 2, half price. Some of them are priced already, but some are not. What is the price of it? No, don't take it. I've got to write.
I'll give you the price.
I want to write on it.
It's like £3 too, please.
£3.
2 pence.
3, 2,
88 cents.
3. Laws are there to be intelligently and flexibly interpreted, not stiffly, rigidly, blindly to the letter of the law. And exactly the opposite was done by the court yesterday. So that Judge Vickers is obviously a very, how can I say, so, in Scheuklappen, what are Scheuklappen? Like a creature with things on each side of the eyes to prevent them shying off something. What are those things called in English? Scheuklappen. Things like this. What?
Blinkers.
Blinkers, yes. Yes, blinkers. I suppose that's the right word, I'm not sure.
Nasty bit of work, Mr. Cannon, nasty bit of work. Being eccentric in this country, it's part of the British culture. And not just being an eccentric, but to be allowed to be an eccentric. And that's what he's not being allowed to be.
It's all in der Hand der liebe Gott. It's in the hand of beloved God. You just have to wait and see what develops next.
The worst case scenario is they go and cut the locks and break in and shoot all his dogs.
And do you think that's a possibility?
Who knows? The answer is I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to talk to the council.
And the best case scenario is
They just leave him alone until the day he drops dead.
and that's what you'd like to see. Yeah?
That is the best way.